because I know we are all busy.
Yes, sir.
Let me also say to all of you, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed this morning as well. Good morning to all of you, and let me thank all the members of the board as well as the members of the staff for your attendance here today and for the work you have all done to put together this agenda. We have a pretty long agenda this morning, so thank you for all the background and preparatory work that you've done. This is a meeting of the Hamilton County 911 Emergency Communications District. We are conducting this meeting after it being duly advertised pursuant to our open records laws of the state of Tennessee. The meeting is being held by way of Zoom technology, also pursuant to the approvals of the state of Tennessee guidelines. Given we are using technology and remote access, I ask that each participant check your technology and your connections to ensure that you can hear and respond and fully participate in the meeting. Given we are using technology again, all votes taken today will be by roll call and voice voting. If any citizen wants to engage or speak to the board, you may do so at our board office located at 3300 Amnicola Highway, and we will welcome your participation today. I will ask the Sheriff of Hamilton County, the Honorable Austin Garrett, to deliver our invocation, and after that, I call the meeting to order and ask John Sturmer, our Executive Director, to give us a roll call. Sheriff Garrett.
Here.
Would you please give an invocation for us today?
Oh, yes. Before we come to you this day as a group of leaders of this community, we ask you to be with us as we make decisions. We're thankful for the blessings you send our way. Just give us wisdom as we're making decisions for each of our agencies and the community as a whole. Amen.
Thank you, Sheriff. Meeting is called to order. Roll call,
I
John.
stand up to people, do the right thing, and I'm not.
Director Adams,
Here.
Sheriff Garrett,
Here.
Chief Hyman,
Here.
Daisy Madison,
Here.
Director Miller,
Here.
Chief Mitchell,
Here.
Chief Murphy,
Here.
Chief Phillips, Chief Rogers,
Here.
Brad Tucker,
Here.
Dr. Brown. We have a
Present.
forum.
Thank you, John. Item number B is the approval of the agenda. You have the agenda before you. It's been previously sent to you. Take a look at the agenda, and if you approve it, if there are no additions to it, we'll engage those if you have some. But if there be no additions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
There's a motion by the sheriff. Is there a second?
Second, Hyman.
Second by Hyman. Any additions or deletions? Roll call, John.
Director Adams,
Yes.
Sheriff Garrett,
Yes.
Chief Hyman,
Yes.
Daisy Madison. Daisy Madison,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chief Mitchell,
Yes.
Chief Murphy,
Yes.
Chief Rogers,
Yes.
Brad Tucker,
Yes.
Dr. Brown.
Yes. Item number C, approval of the minutes. You've been previously sent the minutes of September 8, 2022. Take a moment to peruse those minutes, and we'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes or adjust them if it be your will. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of September 8, 2022?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Adams and second by Hyman. Any further questions? Roll call, John.
Director Adams,
Yes.
Sheriff Garrett,
Yes.
Chief Hyman,
Yes.
Daisy Madison,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chief Mitchell,
Yes.
Chief Murphy,
Yes.
Chief Rogers,
Yes.
Brad Tucker,
Yes.
Dr. Brown.
Yes. Item number D, awards and recognition. We'll yield to John. This is a pretty important part of our agenda today as we celebrate the good work of some pretty talented employees throughout our district. I'm always excited about this part of the agenda, and John, we'll yield to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will yield to Director Carney to provide this information.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Our first telecommunicator of the month is from August. It's Michaela Berry. Michaela, are you on the call?
I think she might have been having a little trouble.
Okay, thank you. She was going to try to be here. I'm sorry she can't be. Michaela's really been having a heck of a year. If there's been a major incident in Hamilton County, I think she's been on the radio for it on the law enforcement side.
Director Carney, I'm here.
Oh, hey.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself.
Good. This is her second time of getting telecommunicator of the month this year. Because like I said, she's handled a lot of major incidents. This one was during the football jamboree, the high school football jamboree at Finley Stadium. There was a fight there. Officers keyed up, said there was a fight, and then it quickly escalated into a taser deployed and needing EMS. And then it went up another notch when the officers said shots fired, which was later determined to be just the sound of the taser being deployed. But at the time, they thought they had shots fired. So that turned into what we would call in the fire service as a y'all come. So agencies from all over converged on it. The sergeant on duty that night commented on how well Michaela handled everything, how she kept everything under control. Supervisors and the training staff, of course, reviewed this, and they were all very impressed with the level of control and how professional she was in handling this major incident, and probably kept it under control as well, just by her patience and staying calm. So Michaela was our telecommunicator of the month for August.
Well, Michaela, again, congratulations on behalf of our board. This is your second award, so you are a pretty busy telecommunicator, but you do some outstanding work. We want to thank you for the care that you take in delivering your work, but also the precision and expertise that you give. I know the law enforcement and emergency medical folks who respond to these incidents are truly appreciative of your calmness and the work that you do to help coordinate such events. On behalf of our board, we just thank you. We can't thank you enough for what you do. I mean, you really do demonstrate the excellence that we find throughout our district. So again, congratulations for a second time. Thank you. And we just wish you well and hope that you'll stay with us forever. All right.
Amen.
I'll yield to any comments from board members before we allow Michaela to kind of give us a little bit of thoughts on her part. All right, Miss Michaela, what do you think?
I was not prepared to say anything.
Okay, all right. That's pretty good when you have a telecommunicator that can't say anything. I love that. But listen, thank you again for what you do, and we really do appreciate you and celebrate your work.
Thank you.
Thanks for working with us, okay? Being part of our team. Daisy, I see your hand.
Yeah, she's not talking, but I bet if she got a phone call, a call about delivering a baby, she'd tell them how she's kicking the gear.
Oh, okay.
On a 911 call. Okay, I don't think she goes. Keep going.
All right.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you? She says she doesn't talk, but if she got a call and she needed to help someone in distress, she'd kick in gear.
Yeah, that's great. Michaela, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great morning.
You too.
Thank you, Michaela.
All right, Jeff, the next one?
Yes, sir. Our next one is actually two for the month of September. It's Adriana Fairbanks and her trainee. Adriana is acting as the CTO, the training officer, along with her trainee, Brandy Redder. On August 31st, they took a call from a female who stated that she thought she'd called 211 and she was trying to disconnect. Just before she disconnected, Adriana and Brandy heard her male in the background speaking in a strange rush voice and saying something about the female lying about him. So that immediately triggered the dispatch sixth sense, I guess, the gut feeling that something wasn't right there. which led them to start digging around. They got an address. They looked at the history of the address and saw that there was a lot of history there with domestic violence and narcotics violations. They got names for both the parties, suspected names for both the parties, and then found that the male had a active warrant, an active fugitive warrant. So all that research and all that effort paid off when the police got there. The party did have an active warrant and he was taken into custody. So two of the things our people do really well, I think, is save lives and catch bad guys. And Adriana and Brandy certainly did that in this case. Probably got the female out of a dangerous situation. And it was really beneficial with Brandy being a trainee and getting to experience that with Adriana. And we know that that's going to rub off and stay with her throughout her career. So.
Wow, again, we celebrate with both of you, Brenda and Adriana. And Adriana, we thank you for being a great CTO and for your intuition.
Thank you.
It's this sixth sense of knowing that something's afoot and investigating that. And you probably saved a young woman from harm. And again, it sounds like you got a bad guy off the street. So that's a really good thing. We just celebrate you today for being our telecommunicator of the month for September. And Brandy, obviously you're off to a great start, and we're just delighted that you are with us. We wish both of you the best and wish you longevity of service with Hamilton County 911. I'll yield to the board now that others may have comments.
Thank you.
I see one hand, Brad Tucker. Brad, you want to say something? You can unmute.
I was just giving her a hand clap. Appreciate both
okay.
of their work.
All right. Yeah. Well, we all are celebrating. I see a lot of hand claps on the reaction buttons, and Daisy is clapping too. So we all are celebrating with you today. We're going to yield a minute if you'd like to say something, either one of you, Brandy or Adriana. Any comments? Again, we just can't thank you enough for what you do every day for the citizens of Hamilton County. We look forward to seeing you in person soon. I was able to go down on the floor at our last committee meeting with Jeff Carney, and I'm always amazed at the work that you do at these stations. It's just so many things that you do. You have to multitask to do all the things that you do. So congratulations again, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff.
That's all, sir. We're working on a bunch of them for this month. I just got 2 potential lifesavers on my desk and just cleared 2 potential lifesavers. So future board meetings will have more fine things to talk about.
Thank you. I see that Bruce Garner, our public information officer, is on the call. Bruce, I want to thank you for the, I did get a chance to see the Channel 3, I think, report. I thought that was excellent, and it exemplifies the work of Brandy and Adriana and our other awardees. So our employees do some outstanding work for Hamilton County, but thank you for letting the public know that as well. Bruce, any comments from you?
Pardon me?
I said, any comments from you about these awards?
Well, other than thank you for your comments and your observations. I hope that's just the start of what we're going to be doing in the coming weeks and months and years, is showing off our talented telecommunicators. And they're often kind of overlooked because they're not out and being able to be seen as much as the other first responders, you know, fire, police, and EMS. So if I can, I hope to be able to show a lot more of this as time goes on. And it's good to be here. It's good to see you all too.
Thank you, Bruce. All right.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to go to item number E, the financial report for October of 2022. We will yield to Daisy Madison, our chair of that committee.
May I share? John?
Seth, can you give her that, please?
You should be able to, yep.
Okay. Well, It's not allowing me, so it's probably on my end. But I can't share, so that's probably on my end. Anyway, we have all gotten copies of the financial reports if you want to pull them up on your screen. For the month of November, you look at the balance sheet, which would be page number 2. Total equity, which is the net effect of all of the changes and activities that we have from time to time. Thank you, John. If you go to page 2 at the bottom, there's net equity is 25 versus 27 at the same time last year. So it just says that the entity is still fiscally strong, can withstand, let's see, I won't say catastrophe, but could withstand issues that were not necessarily anticipated. We're not operating on a shoestring. But at the same time, we're not necessarily hoarding cash, although we do have, if you look at the assets, we do have a substantial amount of cash on hand. And as we all know, that's primarily to avoid excessive liabilities when we do have to make huge capital outlays for various reasons. And technology, with the changing as much as it is, it's not an uncommon thing. If you will go now to page 3. Year-to-date expenditures, July through October versus budget. You'll see that at this point in the year, because most of our monies are straight line, we would be about 33% of the year, and we are in total operating revenues about 32%. So it's really pretty much on target. Investment income is the one item that we don't generally accrue, and you'll notice we have 20,000 there. We only have 924. Now we won't get. It's highly unlikely we get the 20,000 given the current market, but we will definitely get more than 924 by the end of the fiscal year. So revenues are pretty much on target, and I'm sure you guys got something in your emails today that yesterday that addressed the fact that we can expect a one-time donation here for November that would definitely put us in a very good position in that regard. And I'm sure John will probably talk about that later. Salaries and wages, you'll notice they are under budget at this time last year, or well, just under budget, which is always a favorable thing. Revenues is not, being under revenues is not necessarily favorable, but being under expenditures is favorable from a financial perspective, but we always have to examine the reasons for that. And sometimes if it's too heavily because of lack of staff and availability of personnel, it could not be a good thing. But we continue to operate well in spite of the fact below our budget and manage the operations extremely well with those vacancies and operating under budget. For some reason, if you look at medical insurance is what is the big under spender, if you will, in our benefits. And it's still amazing to me, but I think it totally relates to the fact that medical rates have not gone up at the same rate as it used to in the past. And those vacancies contribute to that as well as possibly selection of options, family versus individual coverages. But I think it's primarily due to the vacancies. You see administration. If you go with John on administration section, page, it's at 26.7% of the budget. There are a couple of outliers there. Most of these items, as you see, are over 30+%. But at the end of the day, they're under budget and we always reallocate as necessary. Building and facilities, 42%. And as John pointed out last month, electric and gas, or running much higher than we budgeted. So that is something while we are monitoring it. If there is no explanation for it other than higher usage and higher rates, it's just an impact on next year's budget. But the fact that we have underspent in other areas, of course, will allow us to cover that. There's one item here, building and facilities cost. $4,500 is 100% spent. It was just an odd number.
I can address that, ma'am.
Okay, all right,
That-
thank you.
That
Because
is the rent money that we're paying Hamilton County for our additional space at the mock.
okay, and so the name, I guess the name of the title is weird because it's exactly the same as the general category. But, okay, I would have expected to be wrong, but thank you.
It's a one-time cost for the year for that.
Okay, all right, thanks. Communications and operations, there's no real outliers there, 23% overall. So bottom line is essentially the center is operating extremely well. Net income at this point on page 5 is 595 versus 206 budgetarily, largely due to expenditures at this point coming in less than revenue. And we can expect, unless there's something out there that we're not aware of, expect that to get better based upon the excess and extra income that the state is agreed to send, that has suggested that they will send us for during the month of November. And the other items are pretty much year-to-date transactions, comparative data from year to year. If you look on page 2, no, let's go to the year-to-date. Year-to-date, that's actually page 9. 8, page 8. Well, actually, it's page 7. Sorry, guys. Page 8. Operating expenditures, year to year, same period. If you look at the change column, net income is on page, okay, I don't see the page 9. Net income is, even though we are down budgetarily a little bit, we are $183,000 over where we were at the same period last year. And they are suggesting it's 44% change. And that's it. Let me see, I had a couple of notes. I think I remembered all of them. Okay. Senior telecommunicators were over budget by 630%. And if you go back there, that's the note that I had. It was just a category, it's not an overall budgetary issue, but I did find it odd, and I'm sure John had an explanation. I didn't know if we had more senior than we used to. You want to address that because it's extremely over budget.
Yes, if you'll see, the telecommunicator advanced is 15% budgeted. We were able to implement the telecommunicator senior position this year, and those positions were filled by telecommunicator advanced. So if you look, it balances out between those two positions. It's not an increase, it's just a shift in the line where that salary is.
Right, that's what I thought it had to do with some of the reorganizations.
Yes.
Reclassifications that we did this year. Thank you. And that's it, unless anybody has any questions or comments. Operations are going well budgetarily as well as operationally itself.
Well, Daisy, thank you for that great report, and want to thank John and his leadership team, Jay, for outstanding financial stewardship, continuing that trend here within the district. We really do appreciate that, and John has more good news for us in his report too, that will make you feel a little bit better about this budget going forward. So Daisy, will you make a motion that we accept your financial report?
If there are no more comments, I move that we accept the November financial reports that presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Adams.
Second by Adams. Any further comments? Daisy, great work. John, roll call.
Director Adams,
Yes.
Sheriff Garrett,
Yes.
Chief Hyman,
Yes.
Daisy Madison,
Yes,
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chief Mitchell,
Yes.
Chief Murphy,
Yes.
Chief Rogers,
Yes.
Brad Tucker,
Yes.
Dr. Brown.
Yes. All right, thank you for that. Item number F, our general counsel report, Mike Mann.
Mr. Chairman, nothing new to add to be beyond what I've already got. You've got my reports for months and got that to your consideration, but that would need nothing further.
All right, any questions for our legal counsel while we have Mike kind of queued up here? Well, Mike, I'll say again, thank you for the work that you do. We consistently call him on different matters, and he always gives us good advice and making sure that we stay in line with the law and out of trouble. So we appreciate that, Mike. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move to item number G, the director's report. John, we'll queue you up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm glad to be able to start off my final director's report with a lot of good news. It's not on the agenda because I failed to realize that I hadn't provided this information prior. But as Daisy alluded to, we have some good news as far as our surcharge revenue for this year. The Tennessee Board of Emergency Communications Board each year in November distributes to districts the surcharge revenue that was collected that was above the state board's budget and the mandatory statutory distribution of those revenues to districts. And they distribute that money from the previous fiscal year collections. The state board at their October meeting announced that collections in fiscal year 22 were greatly exceeded those as projected. They gave in part one of the increase in the surcharge rate, but also the increase in the population of Tennessee, people moving to Tennessee, both played a large part in that. The increase was so significant, in fact, that if they distributed the revenue as they normally do in November, it would have exceeded their budgetary expenditure that was approved. So the board selected to distribute a portion of that section 103 revenue to the districts with the understanding that the staff of the state board would go to the administration and request a budget adjustment to increase their expenditure cap. With that being said, Hamilton County for fiscal year 23 this November is in line to get $1,064,294. Of that, we're going to get $879,486 in November, with the remaining $154,808 to come to us upon approval of the TCB's budget. To give you the impact on us, last year we received $437,000 in section 130 or 103 money. So it is a significant increase, and from my discussions with the the director of the state board, we're looking at this might be more in line with what we're getting in the future. It's not a one-off. It's more of, this is the increase that Tennessee has seen population-wise and from the surcharge. So that, it puts us in a good position. We expended a lot of revenue that we normally get in to adjust the salaries, and this really helps us get it back to where we have a bit of a buffer for additional expenses that are coming up. Entertaining.
John, thank you. This is really good news, but I guess from Daisy's perspective and my own perspective, these are non-recurring revenues for right now. Is that correct? One time?
It is a recurring revenue, but it's adjusted annually by the revenue that was collected the previous year.
Okay.
It is not, it's an ongoing thing. It's part of the distribution of surcharges. So it's not a one-time, a one-off. In fact, the state board is entertaining the consideration of moving a large portion of this into the guaranteed money that's coming in every 2 months to help districts, because right now, as this is revenue that is over and above that's budgeted or statutorily required to distribute to the agencies. Districts can't use this revenue for loans. If they're wanting to build a building, the banks wouldn't consider this because it's not a guaranteed revenue. It's consistent revenue, but it's not a guaranteed revenue. So I think we're going to see this amount or close to it in the future ongoing. Just how the state board elects to what pocket they put it in. If they feel comfortable with putting in the guaranteed distribution bi-monthly, that would make a big difference for some districts. But I do believe this is not a one-off. We get this money every month, every year. And I think the positive thing is it's the collections have gone up, and I don't think that's going to go down significantly.
Thank you. Daisy, any comments from you?
No, I agree. I mean, based on the way I read it, I could have met, it appeared that it is ongoing, but it didn't, I'm curious as to why. Is it all of it's just, such a huge increase, and I just wondered why. Was there any explanation?
Yes, as I said, they say that one is the surcharge rate increase that we got. We moved it, if you recall, we removed
the surcharge rate went up. Gotcha.
Went up 23 cents per phone.
Okay.
And then the great influx of people into Tennessee is another
that was the bigger piece.
component.
So they really just think the surcharge rates didn't go up that much. It's got to be an increase in volume as well.
It's a combination, yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, John, thank you for this really, really good news. Any other comments from members of the board? John, do we have to accept these funds?
No.
All right, great. I'm saying yes.
No, they're coming. They're coming. Yeah, well, we don't have to prove it. That's for sure.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good work.
Thank you. The next thing that I'd like to bring to the board's attention is we are very fortunate to have with us our new public relations and recruitment specialist, Bruce Garner, and we spoke with him earlier. Bruce, I will tell you, has hit the ground running and has made a tremendous amount of outreach efforts and connections with people throughout the community. Director Carney made the statement last week that Bruce is killing him with all of these outside activities that we're doing recruiting and going to different meetings to let people know who we are and try to help and increase our staffing. So we're very glad to have Bruce with us. I provided a report in the packet to you with a synopsis of what he's been doing so far. We are working to develop a monthly report that would detail the activities that he's able to do and the work he's able to do, and we'll make that available to the board in the future. But very, very happy to have Bruce with us, and I think we're going to see a lot of benefits for him. I tell you, he's made a lot of good inroads with the employees down the floor, and so I think one of the things that really is encouraging to me is he has stepped up and implemented the CORE program It was part of the package, but basically it's community outreach, recruitment and engagement where we take our telecommunicators out and let them be the face of our organization in the public. It's been a very successful program in Nashville, and he has grabbed that one and has already had meetings with the employees that are on the core group. And so I think we're going to see a lot of positive out of that. So Bruce, glad to have you on board and look for a lot of great things.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Bruce.
And just for
also-
clarification,
also-
fully trained by the Chattanooga Fire Department. Chief Adams would probably back me up on that as well.
I will have to admit that I got a lot of my background training with actually just 2 here, primarily fire, but even longer before that, it was with emergency management where Chris is now. So, but also tells you I'm pretty old. But I've got some experience, and I appreciate you all and the time and the experience you've given me over the years. Dr. Brown, I'm sorry.
No. Thank you for that. I did want to comment that I really do appreciate your efforts to reach out to employees. I noticed that announcements now that occur in the district, you distribute those to all of our employees, keeping them, making sure that they feel like they're part of the team. So thank you for that communication and for embracing the total team approach here.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I think that will help too. And I think I've got positive feedback on that too, Dr. Brown, that they appreciate being included in communication. So thank you.
Yeah, I had a little feedback from a couple of them too, saying they really appreciate that. They feel like they're in the loop, and
That's great.
We thank you for that work. John, thank you. Bruce does bring a wealth of experience, so we're excited about having you.
Thank you.
John, you're muted. You're muted now.
Sorry.
There you go.
Thank you, sir. Chairman Brown asked that I provide a synopsis to the board on an incident that we had recently with a media report on TV in which the district was not presented in most favorable light in our abilities. We were reached out by a local TV station to talk about an incident that occurred a while back, if you all recall, where we had a Uber driver that was raped, and it took a while to locate that driver. And the TV station wanted to talk to us about why it took so long to identify what the location of that driver was. And Director Carney met with the reporter, and the reporter advised that one of the 911 telephone system providers that we've been engaging with and evaluating had reached out and said that if we had their system that we should have been able to find it. Dr. Carney was able to show that reporter everything that 911 system provider had, that we were able to do that. And in fact, had her call 911 and we immediately showed on the map where she was standing almost in our center. So we were able to demonstrate that we have all the latest technology available to us that's out there to locate callers. Unfortunately, the report still was presented in a very negative light on our behalf, and it came off as that the district was not able to do what we should be able to do. We found that to be very unprofessional and really just out of line for a person for an agency that we are working with. They would go to our local stations and make that pitch to them that we would be better if we were with them, without first contacting us and finding out the specifics of the case. And then the specifics of that case is the 911 call that came was from the boyfriend of the driver, and it went to Catoosa County and then transferred to Bradley County, and finally came to us when they realized that the pickup occurred in Hamilton County. There was at no time did we have the ability to reach out and talk to that victim. It wasn't until that victim was able to use her phone and call that we had somebody there within a minute or two. So the system worked. It just unfortunately that person was not in a position where she could use her phone to reach out to us. So it
So
was
John, I really did just want you to let the board know that we have the capacity
we did.
in-house to
Yeah.
handle those kind of locators, and our technology is the latest technology that's out there. I just wanted the board to be made aware of that because it was so public at the end of the day, and we didn't understand what was going on. So sometimes it's just an update to reassure the board that our technology is in line with what's out there today. Right, John?
It is, and in fact, in part of the new business, we are looking at an option that has been presented to us that actually enhances it even more. So we stay on the very cutting edge of technology here, and so it's very distressful to us as the management team leadership that we were portrayed like that in the news, and it was inaccurate. So
That's why we have Bruce Garner to make sure our story gets out there at the end of the day.
absolutely.
But thank you for handling that. I thought Bruce did a really good job, and Jeff Carney did a great job too. I saw the TV interview that he did, and it was spot on to say we do have the technology. So
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I thought I'd mention that what happened there was a clear example of, in the media, of confirmation bias. And that is that the people in the newsroom had a story idea based on what this vendor contacted them for. And they actually did an interview in advance. And so they had this story that they had in their minds they wanted to do. And they went with it, regardless of what the reporter discovered later with us. We literally demonstrated with Jeff's help and telecommunicators, we demonstrated that we could locate her instantaneously, and we did. And she was very cooperative. And what happened is she went back to the newsroom, and she's relatively new, she'd only been there a few months. And so the people who did not get the new information, who did not get out of the newsroom and see what was really happening, they had their own story in mind, in their mind. And so they brought her back to the original story, regardless of the fact that she, learned that we can locate somebody immediately. But it just goes back to that confirmation bias that sometimes they get in newsrooms, and it's hard to pull them out of that.
Well, Bruce, one of the things I would strongly recommend is that from time to time, maybe quarterly or even semi-annually, that you do an open session with the news media to talk about our technology and talk about the capabilities, what we can and cannot do, and to have some of these high-level public safety folks who are on the call on the board, they're available too, to reinforce how really good we really are here in Hamilton County. So just a great opportunity. Sometimes misinformation is because they don't have information.
I agree with that. They just don't have it.
Yeah, and we'll get out in front of it. That's what we'll do.
Sounds good.
Thank you for that, John. Thank you for that too. Anything else, John?
Just a staffing update. Currently, we are 35 telecommunicators short budgeted strength, but as far as operational strength, which means the ability for that person to be on the floor by themselves, we're 49 people short. So we continue to struggle with our staffing issues and the overtime that comes with that. And so again, constantly working to try to relieve that. One thing I will say that the part-time positions, we have, I believe, 5 or 4 people that are working quite a bit of overtime, but it's not started off strong, but some of them fell off the side, and unfortunately for us, but it is having some impact on our floor and the ability to reduce that staffing requirement, overtime requirement for our people.
But the part-time program is still working though, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, thank you.
I'll not go into the remainder of it for time's sake, but I do recommend you look at our stats. They remain very good, and we are doing a great job on the floor. Even in these difficult times of staffing levels, we still have great numbers, and that's directly to Director Carney's leadership and management down there. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks, John. Jeff, thank you too. I did look at the call taker response times. They still look very good. That's a real credit to the operations, but to the staff too, that those telecommunicators and call takers who answer these particular calls. John, we know this is probably your last director's report to the board, I believe.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
I did want to take the opportunity to really thank you for 18 years of outstanding service, committed service to Hamilton County and to the 911 district. We're going to be celebrating with you more fully on December the 6th. We've sent out so many invitations. I hope your hand is okay, but you're going to be shaking a lot of hands at the end of the day. We broaden the net because we do want people to celebrate with you as we celebrate with you as a board for all the dedicated effort you have given us. So thank you. We ask that you don't be a stranger.
Yeah.
We still may call on you from time to time. So
I do appreciate that, Mr. Chairman, and I do appreciate the board's allowing me the opportunity to serve as your CEO. It has been a great 18 years. Look back with what this staff has been able to accomplish in those years. It kind of mind-boggling, but a great team here, and it's been a great privilege to be part of that team. Thank you.
Well, thank you for helping to build that team too. You were there at the beginning of Consolidated Services. I never shall forget that.
Yep.
Being in the room with all the mayors, and we were sitting down signing those documents, and we were all thinking, how in the world is this going to work?
As was I.
And we all worked together and kind of figured it out, but it does take leadership, and we really do appreciate that, helping us navigate all of these changes. And as a result, our district has become a national model for how to make things happen like that. So thank you, and thanks to the team. Really appreciate it. We'll have a lot more to say. Any other members of the board want to say anything to John real quick? We're going to reserve some time in December for this as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Go ahead.
Well, I did all things that you said, and I can reflect back on the time when we put that financial operations agreement in place. And it was very well thought out, and the board was very wise, if you will, and putting the terms in as it is. And it is definitely required that all of the participating entities pay their fair share and allow the entity to essentially manage the way it needed to, and without real financial concerns. Although, I mean, I won't say there weren't any, but we've been able to manage because of the financial mechanism that was put in place by that initial board, and John definitely stuck to it. You couldn't, you know.
Go ahead, Daisy, say it. Go on now.
You know, so and the center is financially, fiscally healthy as the result of his management of the finances as well as the management of the operations itself. So kudos. I mean, no one can take that away from you. You started from scratch, and where it is right now, it speaks for itself, and it speaks for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, we've invited a lot of people to come back, John, to talk to you a little bit, people you've worked with over the years, names like Irvin Dinsmore and folks like you go, who is that at the end of the day? So John Cupp was the sheriff at that time at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And just some great people. We're looking forward to celebrating with them and seeing them again too. Thank you for what you have done. We're going to move to old business now. We have nothing listed on the old business, but is there any other old business we need to take care of? All right, we'll move on to new business. And item number 1 is cybersecurity monitoring and support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll turn this over to Director Graham to present this to the board.
You may recall a year ago, we signed up with a organization called Seculor that would monitor our network and alert us when things look suspicious or if someone was intruding, et cetera. That was just a 1-year contract to get our feet wet and see how it worked, if we wanted to make any changes, et cetera. So since that time, we've discovered that the way they operate doesn't fit in as well as I'd hoped with the way that we operate. So a few months ago, we started looking around at other options, and we came across Avertium, which we've done business with in years past with some other cybersecurity services. And I believe what they offer is what we're looking for. And it's cheaper than the alternative, which is nice as well. So basically what they're going to do is install what they call a SIM, which is a piece of software that aggregates all the logs from all of our systems. And they have a 24/7 security operations center that monitors that software. They will contact us when there's a threat to our system that we need to take care of. The beauty of that is there won't be that many false alarms, because they can detect false alarms and clear them without even bothering us, which is very nice. So we will also have access to the SIM to do our own monitoring investigation, but obviously we're not on duty 24/7. So it's good to have someone out there keeping an eye on our systems. They also offer a lot of other services that we're going to talk with them about at a later date, such as managing our antivirus endpoint protection for us, which creates some other benefits as well. So we may be coming back with something with that at a later date. One big plus to them is their main security operations center is based out of Knoxville. So if we had a major incident here that required boots on the ground, they could be down here very quickly. And, most companies are not that close. They'd have to fly in, et cetera. So I think it's going to work out very well. And like I said, we've done business with them before. They're a great company to work with. They work with a lot of very large organizations. I think Erlanger uses them. I think Unum does. They have a lot of really big customers. So I think it'll work out very well. So what they've quoted is $57,600 per year of service. We budgeted $60,000. So that's a little bit under budget, which is always nice. And that's the recommendation, is to go forward with them. Our current contract with Seculor expires in early December. So it's perfect timing to get that pulled out and replaced with this.
Seth, thank you for that report. The Technology and Executive Committees met and heard Seth's report to those committees. Eddie Phillips is not here today, but Daisy was part of that. She raised a question about procurement process. So Daisy, if you would review that and make sure the procurement's okay. And with that, I'll entertain a motion, if you would, from you, that we approve this.
Okay, I was this is not the one we talked about before, is it? This is a different one, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the one that is, the quote is through Omni Partners Public Sector Organization, which is a competitive bid organization for public entities.
Yeah.
And so
it's not a sole source. You just used an existing contract.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm fine with this.
All right. Would you make a motion to approve this?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Tucker seconds.
All right. Any further comments? Roll call, John.
Director Adams.
Yes.
Sheriff Garrett.
Yes.
Chief Hyman.
Yes.
Daisy Madison.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Chief Miller. Mitchell, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Chief Murphy. Chief Murphy.
Yes, sorry about that. Couldn't get off mute. Yeah.
Thank you. Chief Rogers.
Yeah.
Brad Tucker.
Yes.
Dr. Brown. Carries.
Yes. Item number 2.
May I, on the heels of this, Dr. Brown?
Uh-huh.
When we, on the face of things, and I know he's probably said it, But if it's not caught in the minutes, it's not obvious. It's sort of like what we've done with the bid. If it's purchased on the contract, which it was competitively bid, if we can just make sure, just make that part of the written document that you put with this. It's very easy to just attach that to the approval process. And just in case the minutes don't catch it, because it is, the amount would suggest it would, but it doesn't, only because of the allowance that we piggyback on other entities' contracts.
Thank you, Daisy. And John, that'll also be good for internal audit too, when we have audit. So if you would just add that language, Seth, on how we proceeded with the procurement as part of the package. Appreciate that. That's good advice. Item number 2.
Again, I will turn it over to Director Graham on this.
This one's very easy. So we just need to renew our support and maintenance contract with VMware, which provides all the software that runs our servers for our operation. We got this one under state contract pricing through Insight. So it's an amount of $22,503.98. We budgeted $22,000, so we got close on that one. And this is for a 1-year renewal. It's a little bit more this year because we have 3 different contracts with them for different pieces of the software. And to make it easier on everybody, we've asked them to co-term all those contracts to end at the same time. So you'll see on the screen that John shared, the coverage dates, the start dates are different for the different contracts, but all of the end dates are the same and lined up. So it'll make life easier in the future.
Okay, this is a state contract procurement. Any comments from members of the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve from the members of the board.
Motion to approve, Adams.
Okay, is there a
Second, Hyman.
Second, Chief Hyman. Any further comments? Roll call, John.
Director Adams,
Yes.
Sheriff Garrett,
Yes.
Chief Hyman,
Yes.
Daisy Miller. I'm reading down. Daisy
Yes.
Madison. I'm going ahead of myself here. Sorry about that.
Now, it's usually Dolly,
Yes.
not
That's the first one I heard of that one. Director Miller,
Yes.
Chief Mitchell,
Yes.
Chief Murphy,
Yes.
Chief Rogers,
Yes.
Brad Tucker,
Yes.
Dr. Brown.
Yes. Okay, next item, please.
Yes, sir. Next item is a request to approve the purchase of Rapid SOS Premium. Just a little background. Rapid SOS is a free service that is utilized, and basically Rapid SOS went out and got Apple and Google to agree to turn on their enhanced location information when a 911 call is made on any cell phone. And that information is sent to Rapid SOS and is disseminated back to 911 districts across the nation. They have really provided a great service. It's faster than our traditional 911 information, and it's more accurate than it is. So it's a great service, and we use it here and have been for a while. They are continually to move forward in their offerings. Basically, they have positioned themselves as the portal to 911 centers across the United States for additional data from companies, such as telematics for a wreck accident. They have the ability to send that. And as they have moved forward, they've offered additional features above just the location portion of it. And that includes their Rapid SOS Premium. We have been approached by them, and they are offering a short-term sole source, basically entry to this premium product that they're now just offering. If we sign up by December, into December, we will get $1,000 off of each seat or concurrent seat that we purchase, which is a significant, it's about a third off for that service. They're the only ones that are providing this type of service. And we recommend to the board that this service has allowed us to purchase. We are looking at 15 different positions. concurrent positions, and basically that is call takers as well as the agencies that are using the Axon body cameras for their officers. This service gives us the ability, if our agency has Axon body cameras, that if that body camera is turned on, we can actually see the location of that camera as it moves, which is always an issue when we've got AVL for the vehicles and we know where the vehicle is, but if the officer gets out on foot in a foot pursuit or is calling for backup and is out of the vehicle, we don't know exactly where they are. With this additional enhancement to Rapid SOS and the premium, we will be able to pinpoint that on our map. Another major component to this that's good for our operational is right now we have two maps that our telecommunicators have to use. They use the 911 phone system map, which plots the anti-alley of the incoming call through the traditional 911 system. Then they have to go to the second map, which is the Rapid SOS map, to see the more accurate location and the information that's presented through Rapid SOS. With the premium package, we will be able to move all of our map layers, and all of our information onto the Rapid SOS map. So our people will have just one map to contend with, which is opens up another screen and helps them tremendously. So we are recommending this to the board. A lot of features to it, and if you have questions on that, I'll be willing to let Director Carney talk a little bit more about them. The quote for this service for 12 months is 15 concurrent licenses, which means that we can use this anywhere across either in Main Center or the MOC. They also have told us if we have a major incident that we can go over that, they're not going to cut us off, which is a very positive thing for us. Sometimes we have major incidents where we need that additional information and positions, and we can use it. This presents and provides us a lot of enhancements. As we talk about, we are continually looking for the best information and the best services that we can use to get the responses out quickly, and this is one of those things. And I'll entertain any questions at this point.
John, thank you for that. This item was brought before the Technology and Executive Committee and recommended for approval to you today. Also, Daisy, this is the one that Daisy talked about, the procurement process, and John has outlined the procurement process for this acquisition. One of the things we were very impressed with was the ability to track the Axon body cameras. I know we have the chief of police for the city and the sheriff is on the call. Reactions from both of you regarding that, I thought that was pretty impressive, especially if an officer gets in an area where they're lost and we can't find them at the end of the day. Any comments from you on those features?
Yeah, I can go ahead if Chief Murphy's not.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Sheriff.
Okay. Yeah, I see a lot of different advantages of this. The overwhelming is, of course, the safety of our personnel, not only on the calls, but in special events that we're working. If a deputy or an officer activates a body camera on the Riverwalk during the Riverbend Festival or Ironman event, those type of things that we don't necessarily know where they are specifically, that gives dispatch an opportunity to find them if we're working any kind of civil unrest incidents, natural disasters. We have someone activate a camera that are close to their car. I see a lot of advantages to that. So I'm a proponent of this being used.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate that. Chief Murphy, I see you're driving, looks like.
Yeah, same here. I reiterate everything that the sheriff said. He hit on all the points that I would have made in reference to that. I mean, anything that's going to help us be able to locate our people better in situations where we, whether we can have any loss of communication. Otherwise, that's just an extra layer, and I appreciate that. So yes, doing everything.
Thanks to both of you. Okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion to approve this acquisition. Is there a motion?
Motion.
By
Sheriff.
Okay, all right. Is there a second?
Second
by Mitchell.
Okay, second by Mitchell. Any further comments? Roll call, John?
Director Adams,
Yes.
Sheriff Garrett,
Yes.
Chief Hyman,
Yes.
Daisy Madison,
Yes,
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chief Mitchell,
Yes.
Chief Murphy,
Yes.
Chief Rogers,
Yes.
Brad Tucker,
Yes.
Dr. Brown.
Yes. Thanks, John. Item number 4, employee PTO carryover.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the, by policy, we limit, the carryover of accumulated time, on our employee's anniversary to 80 hours. And that has been the tradition, as long as I have been here. With the staffing shortage and the increased overtime that our employees are working, the availability of, days off have been drastically reduced for our employees to take their accumulated time outside their regular off days. And it's come to our attention that as a result of that, we have several employees in November and December that will be losing time because they're going over their 80-hour cap. And basically, if you go over 80 hours, anything over 80 hours is lost to the employee. Under the circumstances and that are not of the employee's fault, it's just the times that we're in with the staffing shortage and the overtime. Staff recommends to the board that we on a temporary basis until further notice, eliminate the overtime cap and just allow them to accumulate time as it comes to make sure they don't lose something that they've worked hard for. We've met with the Hamilton County HR and payroll. They are in agreement that they can accommodate this without any problem. And we have included the verbiage and the change that we would recommend to the policy per policy 11, compensation and benefits, section 5, benefits A, personal leave, paragraph 7. And basically what it does is it just removes the 80-hour cap so that by policy, our employees can continue to accumulate that time past their employment date.
John, thank you for that. John and I discussed this previously, and I thought this was a great idea so we don't penalize our employees for the work shortages that we have currently at the end of the day. He said Hamilton County HR was fine with this change. And if we pass this today, I'll ask Dr. Gohagan in HR to provide for us a quarterly report as to what this looks like so we can kind of gauge the fiscal impact of this change. But we'll open it up now and I'll entertain a motion to approve this recommended change by the staff. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve, Adams.
Chris Adams, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we got a second by Sheriff Garrett. Any further comments?
Mr. Chairman, John, is there language in there that says until further notice or as determined by the board, et cetera? So this is not an ongoing thing?
No, there is not, but I think it would just by the motion until further notice would be satisfactory that the policy itself would be easily changed by the board's action again.
I had the same question, Ted. Because to stay with no cap and you leave it there and forget it, you know, you can get the board into a significant liability position when a person leaves. And so I would just make sure that the board would review that periodically to determine whether or not they want to continue that. And maybe at some point put a cap and make decisions to maybe pay the employee for that time instead of saying they would lose it, allow them to pay it. I mean, pay them for that, the board to pay it, because at the end of the day, we'll have to pay it anyway. And as long as it stays in there, you know, a leave hour that's accumulated today that is paid 10 years from now or 5 years from now is worth a whole lot more. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I would say monitor it and make sure that the language says that reviewed periodically by the board. I personally would prefer a cap. Yeah, and with an option to pay them. But I think if we review it by the board at some intervals, you can always make that change if we decide to do so.
So John, the recommendation is to add that flexibility language in there upon review of the board. And I'm asking Dr. Gohagan to do a quarterly report to the board and to the chair of the Personnel Committee and the Finance Committee. So we can gauge any fiscal impact and the board can adjust and respond to that. But their comments are spot on. John, can you do that?
We can, and I appreciate the comments of Daisy and the fact we have talked about in the past at some point the potential of allowing our people to buy their hours over if they elect to do it, if they're over a certain amount of hours. And this might be one of the things that we look at on this in the future is if you're coming up on your anniversary date and you got more than 80 hours, that the employee has the ability to purchase that over 80 hours instead of lose it. Which would be a benefit for the employee, be a benefit for the district, because as Daisy said, every year that we have that time on our books, that time becomes more expensive.
Yeah.
As salaries and things increase. So I think there's an opportunity to look at compensating our employees by allowing them to purchase some of that time if they get over 80 hours or some kind of a program. I know there was an interest in them from them for something like that. So the intent was this. I will tell you that we were looking at this as until the staffing issue was resolved. Then we would go back to the cap. But with the staffing, the shortage that we're at right now, this was, I guess, a fix to help us not penalize our employees.
Chairman, I was going to ask that same question when Daisy brought that up. The city currently allows employees to buy a percentage. They've got a cap, I think, on the number of hours they can cash in a lifetime, and it's at 70%. The county doesn't offer that right now, correct? I don't think.
Not to my knowledge, no.
I would like to see us kind of explore that. I don't know what the fiscal note, how they would, the actuarial study on that would look, but I would like to see us look at that. Employees might look at that as a way, every year if they've got excess time for Christmas, that's somewhat of a way they could cash in during the holidays on time where, like I said, Daisy said, we're going to owe the money regardless. But if they reach a certain number of hours, they're able to cash that in at their option, or they have to cash it in if they haven't used it. But I think it would be good for us to look at allowing the employees to do that. And like I said, the city already does it. So I think it would be good for the county to kind of look at if we could do the same thing.
Sure, thank you for that. And I'm looking at Ted Rogers too. Ted, I'm going to refer that to the Personnel Committee. And will you work with Dr. Gohagan on a good review of that and actuarial look at what that might cost the district? Again, what John wants to do is try not to penalize our employees because we don't have a lot of staffing right now. So, and I get that, I understand that, but we're looking at long-term issues financially. So Daisy, your hand's up.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of add to what has been said regarding the payback. I mean, the purchase of leave, while that is an option, it's sort of different from what's here in that I do not, based on the city's policy, I do not encourage any employee to sell their leave because of the fact that it now requires, unless they've changed it recently, it requires that their cap be reduced. And they're also getting less than 100% of the value. So just, you might want to get that policy and like I said, it's not something I would never advise an employee to do it. But if an employee finds themselves in a financial situation and they needed money, but recognizing that if I had 50 days of leave and I sell 10 of them, I've just lowered my cap to 40. And I'm only getting 70% of my leave back. So, but
I'm wondering about that, Daisy, the difference in the, your accrual rate for your, basically your annual time versus comp time. You know, if they're building, the differences in, I know we're talking about two different things, but are they able to cash in on their comp time if they're not able to use it as a difference, and differentiating between the two?
there again, at this point, unless they've changed it, that cash in only had to do with an employee that needed money, and they could essentially buy leave, but by doing so, you reduce your cap.
Right.
And that's, like I said, I would not advise them unless they were in a, but if you're in a financial strait, you're in a financial strait, but they definitely lose on that one. But this is different. It's a use it or lose it here. And if you, in that particular case, during this financial, this shortage or vacancy crisis that we have, if the entity decides that we will pay for the leave up to a certain point without changing the cap, that keeps it from going over and increasing in value as that person stays with the city.
That's all of those are great points. I will tell you. So
Yeah, I think I agree. Ted will just discuss them during his meetings.
Ted, your thoughts?
Sheriff Garrett raised an issue when someone earns comp time, it's paid to them at time and a half. And so when they cash it out, it's that, that value, they're going to get a tax hit. And from what I understand, Daisy has said, yes, it reduces their cap or their available balance, I think is what she's saying. But, if someone takes 40 hours leave, they took 40 hours leave. If someone cashes it in, they're going to get a tax hit on that. And so they, they're going to, it's kind of weird because it's almost better to take the leave than it is to cash it in and get paid. Right. But that's the employee's decision, how they want to handle that. The thing we have to do is obviously our duty is to protect the district. All leave is carried on the balance sheet as a liability, of course. And so, we have that liability hanging out there, and the more that they cash it in, we have to pay it out. That's good if they're doing it and there's not a huge balance due when they leave. But all these things are stuff that we can look at, maybe maybe a mixing of all of it to a commensurate amount might be the best thing. But I will say that in my humble experience, sometimes we have to protect the employee from themselves. They can't just cash out all their leave because they're in financial distraits. And then something happens, they don't have any leave. So, you just got to put some guardrails on it, whatever the policy is. And I think we can probably do that.
Okay, any further comments? So John, this is a short-term issue here. I'm looking at it from just a quarter and from a report from Dr. Gohagan back to the board. Daisy, your hand's still up?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't take it down. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to recognize you if you want to speak to this. But this is a short-term solution. And I'm going to refer this again to the Personnel Committee and the Finance Committee for a longer strategy to look at this. And I think Ted is correct too about making sure we protect the employees as well at the end, whatever we do. So any further comments? John, please adjust the language so we have that adjusted language in there that the board is going to review this again when we get Dr. Gohagan's report.
Okay, I'll do it.
If you guys would like a copy of the city's policy in that regard.
Yes.
Be fine. Thank you.
Be great. And get that to Ted too. All right. There's no further comment. We'll entertain a motion. John, by roll call, please, for approval.
Director Adams.
Yes.
Sheriff Garrett.
Yes.
Chief Hyman.
Yes.
Daisy Madison.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Chief Mitchell.
Yes.
Chief Murphy.
Yes.
Chief Rogers.
Yes.
Brad Tucker.
Yes.
Dr. Brown.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is.
The only thing I would encourage us here is overtime needs to be managed by the staff, the managers. So hopefully we won't have certain employees that are ending up with 6 months of leave accumulated.
Thank you, Daisy, but we'll see that. Dr. Gohagan, we'll look at that in your report too, so we'll be able to see how well we're managing workloads. And so John and Jeff, bear that in mind, okay? All right, performance evaluation summary report. I asked the personnel committee to, along with Dr. Gohagan, to provide this for you. Ted and his committee have been working on performance appraisals, and I really wanted the board to be fully aware of really kind of broadly by category what that looks like. But the executive director, though, I'll ask Ted to talk a little bit about that, but we have to approve the executive director's performance appraisal at the end of the day, because John technically works directly for the board at the end of the day. So it's a very general overview that we're here today. We appreciate that. Dr. Gohagan, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm trying to share my screen now, so if you'll just give 1 second. There we go. There are actually 3 different reports, and I'll present just the bare bones of at least 2 of them. The first one is this achievement evaluation analysis. This includes all district employees below the rank of director. No names or titles that would identify any individual are included in this report. It is also my understanding that the board will get copies of each of these reports after the meeting. As this is a public meeting, we didn't want to put the personnel matters on display.
Absolutely. I've asked Jay to send those directly to the board. So we want to make sure we pay attention and not disclose anything about our personnel here. Go ahead.
That is correct. This first report, like I said, it involves all the personnel below the rank of director. There are no names in here. I have redacted on the very last page of the report the titles of admin staff, as because if you have titles, we all have individual titles here, so it's easy to identify individuals. As a general rule, what we have on achievement evaluations is that we utilize the Hamilton County government evaluation tool for admin staff. That would include the training staff, terminal agency coordinators, part of the operations staff. But we utilize that tool. They base that tool off of job descriptions. Further, what we do for operations is that the operations staff comes up with a tool to evaluate telecommunicators and supervisors. Now, that evaluation form is created by dispatch operations. It includes supervisors and telecommunicators involved in that process of designing the tool to evaluate performance. One of the reasons that we do this, it allows us to adjust it as needed. For example, in the evaluation for this year that you'll see here shortly, we had to remove quality assurance, as that's not been a category due to COVID and staffing issues. And in its place, we sort of emphasized the living up to district values. So the scores also reflect that change as well. We do utilize the achievement rating system, as you can see here on the screen. I am happy to report that we don't have anybody below a 3 on any category. So everybody's listed as at least proficient, with the vast majority of our people falling into the superior or outstanding category. For this report, the first breakdown is, again, of all district employees. As you see here, it was 114. There's a couple reasons for that. Directors are not included in this. Probationary employees are not included in the annual evaluation as well. They do get probationary evaluations, but those are not included in these. You can see the average scores there. Outstanding and superior, of course, far and away above that. And what you end up with in the top 2 categories, we find nearly 65% of our employees are rated as either outstanding or superior. Further breakdown, this is by agency, this is by rank. The average score is 4.17. That's for all personnel, again, below the rank of director. And this is just a further breakdown. I also broke it down by shift. This is, this is operations personnel. So this would include telecommunicators up through shift supervisor. That average score is 420, which falls into the outstanding category. Then we have a further breakdown by different titles. We have first shift broken down. First shift had the highest overall shift average at 4.31, which does fall into the outstanding category. So first shift led the way as far as the average score. Second shift as well, they had a 4.16. And I guess notably they came in second as far as those evaluation scores, as far as their average is concerned. And then we have third shift at 4.12. Both the 412 and the 416 still fall into the outstanding category. So all shifts fell into that outstanding category overall. This last page is broken down for the admin staff. This is admin and support staff. Admin and support staff includes obviously the administrative staff, the technology staff, and operations staff, including training and the like. So you see I have redacted the title because, again, you can easily identify that. The average admin support is 3.93, and that is rated as exceptional, with only one individual listed as proficient, everybody else listed in the top 3 categories there. Any questions on this particular analysis before I move on to the directors? Again, you will all receive this report after the meeting, so you can review these numbers in more detail as we move on. On to the directors. This is the division directors analysis. I'm only going to scroll down to the bottom of the first page because after that we get into details about specific individuals. As you can see here, the division directors are evaluated now, at least annually, and they are evaluated on 8 different components that are listed there, including demonstrating required knowledge, managing diversity, how they communicate, and the total quality management. Each division director is evaluated by 5 different evaluators. Those evaluators include at least 2 employees that either work with that division director or alongside, not necessarily in their division. It includes 1 division director, and includes the executive director and the chair of the personnel committee. Those are the 5 evaluators. This scale is a little different as we've created it ourselves. It's a 3-point scale, and you can see it there. Does not meet expectations, either meets expectations or exceeds. And the definitions, of course, are presented there. The category, the scale that we have here goes from a 7 to a 24, fails to meet expectations up to exceptional. And I'm happy to report that all 3 division directors were rated as exceptional. Do I have any questions on the division directors report?
Dr. Cohagen, thank you for such a thorough report, and I want to thank all the members of the team for taking performance appraisals appropriately seriously and giving good feedback. And we have some outstanding staff, top to bottom, a great team. This is reflective of that. So we really do appreciate this report. We will send the members of the board much more definitive information, but we didn't want to do this in a public setting. But I wanted you to understand the process and the categories. So thank you for that. Any further comments?
I have a question. If you go back, Dr. Cohagen, where the eight, yeah, right there. Just there. Yeah. First of all, this is outstanding. You know, it's interesting to make ratings like this. You don't get often, but it's exemplified in the service that they're providing. So I'm sure it's well deserved. So specifically, how does item number 3 and item number 7 factor into the 1, 2, 3s? And you can, I mean, that's something that you can answer me now, you can answer me personally or however, but those two items, over the years, there's just not a lot actually presented on it, and you have had challenges in that area. So I'm
I
just
would-
curious.
I would be happy to send you the actual evaluation, which actually defines what those categories are talking about. I can send that to you via email after the meeting is over.
When you define them, okay. Okay.
Because it gives each evaluation report gives a definition of what each one of those 8 categories are. It defines what you're looking for. So it allows the evaluator to look at that and then rate the score on that definition.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Daisy, for those comments. Any further comments? Ted, any comment from you as chair of the personnel committee? Thank you for your work here, Ted, leading this.
No, Dr. Gohagan did a good job. Just to simply echo what everybody probably realizes is that we do have excellent staff, excellent director. Everybody has done a really good job. They've documented well in the evaluation processes. And we've moved this project along, and we're glad that the results are in the way they are.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll receive this report and send you out other definitive information. I'll ask Ted, as chair of the personnel committee, to also get the executive director information to the board, and then so you can peruse that. However he packages that. Ted, any comment about that?
I've asked Dr. Gohagan to go over that. John, of course, received an excellent evaluation. He's earned that. We're proud of him. And even though he's retiring, we still have to get that voted on by the board. And she has that information, John. As always, we've always commended you. I commend you now publicly for the job that you've done. And we need to get this evaluation on file for as a presentation to the board to approve. Dr. Gohagan, please cover that.
Yes, sir. The executive director evaluation, as you can see here, unlike the division directors that had 8 components, the executive director has 12. Those are listed there for your review. The review score scale is precisely the same. As far as the evaluators are concerned, it was evaluated, Director Sturmer was evaluated by members of the executive committee, 3 members of the executive committee, the chair of the personnel committee, and 1 division director. So those were the 5 evaluators of executive director Sturmer. Again, the performance review score, those are the exact same as for the division directors. The scale is obviously a little bit different because there are more categories, rating from 12 to 36, from fails to exceptional. And executive director Sturmer fell into the exceeds expectation category.
Thank you, Dr. Gohagan. I appreciate that report. Again, if you want more definitive information, we can send that to you. But today, Ted, would you make a recommendation to the board that we accept Executive Director Sturmer's performance evaluation?
I do, with the gratitude that I would like to extend to the executive director for the job that he has done. And so make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Daisy Madison. Okay, John, you get to roll call your own self here today at the end of the day. Any other comments from members of the board? I would like to say to John Jewett, chair of the board, to again thank you for the hard work and all the many good things you have done for the district historically, but particularly during this evaluation year. Bringing the team through COVID has been a major challenge, and you've led that and helped the team manage that process and been sensitive to our employees as well. We can't thank you enough for your leadership there. Your fiscal stewardship is just outstanding. I mean, at the end of the day, our budgets are solid. You make sure that we don't overspend, but you're also an advocate going out seeking resources. That's what executive directors do. Your work with state government, you're leading that for not only Hamilton County, but for all of Tennessee. Your work has really helped all emergency districts throughout the state. I get a little feedback from others with regards to that. So we say thank you for that as well as managing our staff very well. We really do appreciate that. The board really appreciates that. I'll echo what Ted said, that the board really does appreciate your work at the end of the day, and we're delighted about your leadership and about the evaluation there. So any other board member? With that said, roll call, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Adams,
Yes.
Sheriff Garrett, Chief Hyman,
Yes.
Daisy Madison,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chief Mitchell,
Yes.
Chief Murphy,
Yes.
Chief Rogers,
Yes.
Brad Tucker,
Yes.
Dr. Brown.
Yes. Again, John, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
All right. Item number 6 is a report from our Executive and Personnel Committee meeting held on November the 1st, 2022. As you all are aware, we know that John's last day of work, I think, is December 13th. I believe, John, is that correct? In December. So both of these committees took an opportunity to explore how do we move forward with continuity of leadership and what will be our process for recruiting executive level leadership. Had a lot of good conversation. I do want to thank all the members of those committees for that. We would recommend to you today the following at this point. Executive and Personnel Committee make the following recommendations to the full board as discussed in their joint meeting held on November the 1st, 2022. We recommend that on December the 1st, 2022, that our Director of Operations, Jeff Carney, be named Acting Executive Director of Hamilton County 911 Emergency Services District, and that he effectively work with Executive Director John Sturmer during the transition of John Sturmer's retirement that is effective December 13th, 2022. We also recommend that on December 14, 2022, after John's last day, that Active Director Jeff Carney receive Executive Director's pay of $132,781 annually. We recommend that the Executive and Personnel Committees begin an immediate internal search process for a permanent Executive Director and extend that search strictly to the Hamilton County 911 community. Let me kind of explain that a little to you. These committees felt important that we look internal first, that we do a standard search process, but that search be limited first to internal Hamilton County 911. So that is your recommendation coming from both of those key committees. I'll entertain comments about this recommendation.
I have a question.
Yes.
The salary that's given, is that John's current salary or is it the salary on the range?
I think that's the current salary. Jay's shaking her head, yes.
Okay, and while I'm fine with that, I just want to realize that generally when this happens at the city, which is what I base my stuff on, is the person is given the salary that is within that range, that is beginning with that range with a minimum amount of increase. I think in our case, it used to be 6 or 7% increase minimally, or what the beginning of the range, whichever is higher. To take into consideration the fact that that individual doesn't have all of the experience in that position as John, who's been in there 20 years. But, so that was my expectation. It wasn't necessarily discussed before, but that's, and I don't know how other entities do it or how Hamilton County do it, but just thought I'd point that out. No offense, Jeff. Is Jeff here? No offense, Jeff. It's not that, I just wanted
They just, Ted, We talked about that in our meeting. When you were there with us, and I think the intent on that, it's my understanding, is to continue the salary as is, because he actually is going to be acting director for 2 weeks without compensation at the higher rate until Director Sturmer retires. And then it's obvious that if Mr. Carney is the successful candidate and is named as the executive director, those appropriations will be put in place at that time as whatever the appropriate salary would be.
Then if I may, unless there was an expectation that he would come in at a salary higher than what John is being paid, or whoever the new person will come in at a salary that is higher. Generally, we're, a person in a position, that's just the nature of the experience. When you're in an experienced position and you've been in there for years, you're at a level of pay that is different than if I'm in that position and been appointed to that position new. And let's say that if John, and so I could, if I based it upon that experience in that similar position, I don't know that I would say it would be the same level that John has. So therefore, would I be paying that person based on that experience, which would be a lesser amount of pay, which could mean that person could end up with less pay than they did as the interim.
That is correct. That's what I just explained.
Which is odd. I'm just saying that's odd. But okay, but if as long as everybody's clear and understanding it, I'm fine. I just thought it was a little interesting.
Okay, any further comments about that? Okay, all right, Sheriff, I see that you're going to have to leave. I'd love for you to stay if you could to take this vote. The sheriff has to leave. Any further comments? Ted, I've made the recommendations. Would you offer that as a motion coming from the Personnel Committee?
Yes, those are the things we did discuss in the committee, and I do make that motion.
All right. Is there a second?
Tucker would like a second.
Who was that?
Brad Tucker.
Brad Tucker, second. Okay. Any further comments? Let's have a roll call, John. You're muted, John.
Yeah, thank you. Director Adams,
Yes.
Chief Garrett, Sheriff Garrett.
You had to leave.
Okay. Chief Hyman,
Yes.
Daisy Madison,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chief Mitchell,
Yes.
Chief Murphy,
Yes.
Chief Rogers,
Yes.
Brad Tucker,
Yes.
Dr. Bond.
Yes. I've also asked that the Personnel Committee and the Executive Committee serve as co-members of a search committee in this particular process. And I've asked Ted Rogers to chair that committee. I've also asked that he allow a member of the staff, more particularly the Employee Relations Committee, to serve as a member of the search committee, as well as a member of the executive team if that person does not apply for the position at the end of to make sure that we've got a holistic look with the search committee. And Ted has agreed to serve as chair of that particular committee. We also have a job description that we've distributed to the executive committee and the personnel committee for comments. When those comments are back, I will have that job description sent to all the members of the board for you to peruse and look at and to review and make any other recommendations or comments relative to that job description. As we kind of tailor the search process, we will get that back out to the board as well, all the advertisements and all of the processes, we will do that. I want to say to John again, thank you for your work. And I would ask that you begin to work in transition with Jeff Carney. beginning now, really, at the end of the day, to make sure that there are several ongoing projects that need to be reported on, making sure that he's up to speed on all of those things. And there are about 5 things that I'm going to send to the executive committee that I would like to have some review of and some summary report relative to the handoff of leadership. I want to thank the executive committee and the personnel committee for this action today to ensure that we stabilize our leadership at the end of the day. The only other thing that we did with these committees, we did review the report, the employee assessment report from Linda Harrig, our consultant. We went over those things at length with her, as well as we did with you. There are several recommendations there that we need to consider. We'll be talking to Jeff Carney and others on the leadership team about a response to that, an action plan, if you would. There are several great recommendations there. For the most part, again, I do want to thank this consultant for some outstanding work there. And I want to thank all our employees for sitting with her and giving her great, honest feedback at the end of the day. So the good news is that we have an outstanding district. And the good news is that we can always get better. And we always should be working to be better. And at the end of the day, and that requires a bit of an action plan, and we will get that done. I didn't see any major red flags there, but a lot of good feedback as well. So thanks to all of you also for your engagement with our consultant. I think that process was well worth it. Any comments about these changes now? I'm just trying to get off the phone. Been ringing off the hook this morning. Any other items, any other new business to come before the board? Any member of the public that's on the call that needs to address the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn, Adams.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
Second, Mitchell.
It's second by Eric Mitchell. All right. All of you, thank you again for your service and time today. You are adjourned.